Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Forever Forward podcast. I'm your co host and I have Umesh with me. And today we are going to discuss about process automation for facility management companies. How thrilled are you about this episode, Umesh?
Wonderful. And I think both of us are dressed aptly for this. I mean, partly, if I see
Yeah,
the logo on your t-shirt, is that resembling Avengers logo? That's true. And I don't know. And I have this t-shirt, which is fresh from SAS Bhumi, a conference that I attended, which was on AI, which is I love AI. So I guess that answers the question that I'm thrilled, because this is a very relevant topic. Not that, again, a call out that process automation is not a new thing, but it just probably has found a strong resonance. So really excited to talk about everything process automation and enterprise FM companies with you on this episode. Say, yeah,
yeah. And just for today, this t-shirt I'm wearing, it's A for automation.
yeah,
Uh like every other day it's A for Avengers, but for today it's A for automation.
fair
So
enough.
yeah, let's
Right.
go.
That's true. Yeah,
So we've already heard about the benefits of automation, which is like you can save time, you can save effort on tasks. Either you can completely eliminate other tasks, and you can minimize human intervention. You can save time for other more important and intelligent and exciting stuff. So, but for FM companies who haven't considered automation yet,
Mhm.
what according to you should be their pathway, and when and why should be they looking to use it?
So I think I'll probably dwell upon the why. As you mentioned, the obvious why is known to everyone, which is productivity improvement and hence cost reduction, a combination of the two via one way or the other. But as I mentioned, I think we're fresh from the AI bootcamp and a couple of perspectives that we've ourselves developed after that bootcamp. I mean, again, the bootcamp was not specific to facilities management, but was specific to the possibility of how each industry might change in should there be a scale usage of AI across different functions within that industry, right? And this is all hypothesis. A lot of people are in the state of denial, saying that their industry is not going to change. So, if you saw my post as well, I said that eventually the choice is ours, whether we want to act or not, and whether we want to prepare for that 1.01% eventuality that the industry will get 100% disrupted. Now, the choice could be completely ours in whether we want to act or not, and the same goes for FM company. So coming back to the mega why, I see that the worldview. Go back to this question that Jeff Bezos always asking. He says that don't ask what's going to change in 10 years. Ask what's not going to change in 10 years. So, interestingly, some of us at Zempla went back for a retreat offsite and said, okay, there's so much I've consumed personally. How do we look at the operations and maintenance, so on and so forth? So we asked this question, okay, what's not going to change in 5 years? And then we said, okay, assets will remain. And we cut down. I said, things are changing so fast. We can't probably look at 10 years. Let's look at 5 years. And then we said, okay, what's not going to change in 5 years? I mean, and this could be a wrong assumption, but we've zeroed down that assets will remain. They'll only grow. The need to operate and maintain will remain, right? But how that operations and maintenance is done will change, which means the process will change, the way people interact with assets, the way people work with each other will change, which means you will have an introduction of, to a certain extent, some of your co-workers may not be your humans, they could be bots, and the worldview was just as the way Amazon says that at no point in time their customers will not want faster delivery, best prices, great quality products. That's a constant, and you always move forward from there. So then we are saying, okay, what's going to remain constant in the world of operations and maintenance as well is the people would want the assets to work at the best to have the best of reliability, lowest possible energy consumption, and lowest possible cost of operating and maintaining. So that remains constant. Now, I know it's a long answer, Sid, but it goes well beyond cost, in my opinion. It goes to a point whether you are in the business or you are not in the business. And automation is only a part of the mega view of how you look at you're going to drive operations and maintenance. So I'll probably take a pause. The obvious, at the cost of being repetitive, the obvious advantages are there. You, me, everyone knows it. But I see this as a differentiator. I mean, and also as a potential ingredient that if you look back few years from like if you roll back a few years, people were able to do engineering services because they said we have great engineering talent, right? We are engineering company and so on and so forth. But in an AI first world, that differentiator probably won't hold true. We've heard about the retention issues and everything in FM, right? So your technology will become your technology stack will become the differentiator. So I know it's a long answer, Sid, but I think that's my worldview, and that's why it is imperative that every FM company that wants to be in hard services, has to look at it. I mean, they ideally should have started looking at it yesterday. The next test time is today. So that's the why. Now, what was the other question? You said how and when. Is that what was the related question apart from why?
So let's cover that in the next question. I'll come to that topic. So when you say that there is a possibility of change, and even though that possibility is even 0.1%, so how should facility management companies know where they should start? What should be the most impactful processes to automate? And how do they actually build on from there? What is a good place to start and how to build on from there?
See, so would love to have been in a position where you could have given a very sort of an answer which would have been like, what should I say, an obvious answer. It's a very tough call. The fact that you've got to back yourself to say that I'm preparing my like, imagine me having to have that difficult conversation with myself on Zebra. Imagine a company which probably runs a few $100 million or $1 billion of FM contracts. The leadership having to ask that question to themselves and say what's not going to change, what's going to change, and how should we completely should we rebuild the entire process? How should we rebuild it? I mean, that's a very hard call to make, and eventually you are preparing for that. I mean, 0.01% is paraphrasing, but eventually you're preparing for an eventuality which some people may argue, most people in the business may argue will never come. Only some will say maybe, and very few will say yes, it's coming. So it's a difficult call. But in my view, it ought to be taken because that could also could also be used as an enabler to put your business onto a different trajectory. So when now is the best time. How? I think the best way would be, and this is again especially for enterprise FM, not for smaller tier one FM companies. I mean, tier one FM companies will not have the capacity. Sorry, tier two FM companies will not have the capacity to do this in house. So they must also find a way. I think consistent to what we've said in the past, find a way to partner with someone who could take them through. The internal capacities may not just be there. As far as the tier one, the leading enterprise FM companies are concerned, I think they should be looking at the best way to start doing it is saying, let's put a team of 2-3 people, independent, absolutely, and draw the processes, redo the processes. And when I say process, every small thing that happens, every small and big thing that happens in while they operate and maintain assets, while they run their contracts. Look at each one of those components and so how does the interaction happen between different phases? Interaction between team members, interaction between the stakeholders, all the interactions that happen. Look at them and then say which ones are the most obvious ones which should go away, which ones drain are a drain on productivity or are a drain on outcome. So it's a long exercise. It's not a short exercise. Say this, mind you, we are not saying just pick couple, do this, and then you are in an advantageous position. This is saying I'm going to relook at my business, relook at all the processes. If there are 100 things we do, pick those 50, 60 things and then rank them on priority and then get started. So that's an exercise that needs to happen before even you start trialing or doing things is how I would say the how of it needs to happen. I mean, either you are in it completely or you're not in it. Like there is no midway in this.
So we're talking about a change which is at the organizational level and not just specific um, tasks that are going to be automated. It's a business wide change that we are talking about.
I mean,
So
if and just that's only if someone is really wanting to do it wholeheartedly. Now,
yeah,
in the past, people have like I saw one of the companies from it's a German headquartered FM, and they said that they have 37 trials going on. Probably that was in the UK. 37 trials is a whole lot of trials going on. And your guess or my guess is going to be as good as anyone else's, that they probably won't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, the point is, Mark, what I'm trying to say, gone are those days where you could do trials and just be very content to take out that innovation badge and say, hey, we are innovating. I mean, that's just to be, so that's the thing. I don't think you can pick one or two and just say, okay, let me see what happens. Because you're not trying to prove a concept. You're not trying to prove something that it can work or not. What you're trying to prove is there a better way in which we could do the business the way than what we've been doing? And the better way, not vis-a-vis how you've been doing it so far, vis-a-vis how you should be doing 10 years down the line. So that's the call.
So if you're talking about a change that's going to happen across uh, the way assets are operated and maintained, how work is going to change, how processes are going to change. So what about the role of the workforce and the professionals who are working in maintenance, who are working in FM? How is their role going to change?
And,
And
and
what kind
that,
of new skills will they need to learn or will be in demand?
so the role won't change. The role will be there and the role won't change. It is just that you will have to start to learn, and this is happening much faster than I would have anticipated myself a few weeks back or a few days back, honestly. Like no two qualms in and I mean, we've pushed content where we've said people, the workforce need to be having the skills need to go up, tech adoption needs to go up. But trust me, say when I say this, last couple of weeks, especially last week, I myself underestimated the rate of change that would be there. So, but when I ask this question, what's not going to change? So their role is not going to change. You are still going to have human in the loop. You will still be needing skills because we're talking about operations and maintenance and making core decisions, engineering decisions, which are not binary in nature. There's a lot of sort of your instinct will go. There's a lot of engineering knowledge will go when you make those critical decisions, right? However, what is certainly going to change faster than expected is that your potential coworker is not going to be a human. So let me give you an example. Like, although I know in Forever Forward, we never talk about product, we never talk about what Zempla is doing, but I guess the only way to give an example out of it is consider there's a level of, so what would happen is there are some roles where co-pilots are going to be more relevant, and there are some roles that are autopilots which are going to be more relevant. And that is a part of the mapping out that happens. So, for example, if I am if I'm trying to close a work order in front of the asset, potentially which is on a reactive call, I would need a lot of assistance, right? Currently, which probably may come from central control command center or engineer. So that's how it happens. That may not happen in sport and will not happen in sport. So you will have your CMMS or any other tool where you would be able to ask questions as per the flow, understand things. A lot of your questions that you would otherwise want to be answered by someone else will be answered by a bot. And I think those are the changes that would happen. So what skill set are needed? One, embracing the fact that the change will happen. I guess that's the biggest skill, is saying moving out of the state of denial. And apart from that, I don't think tech-wise we need a lot of changes, because the good thing is mobile phone revolution has happened. We all are very comfortable with texting, with video, with audio notes, so on and so forth. So in a way, I guess the only skill that's needed is going back to the first one and saying, okay, let's not be in the state of denial, address that the change is going to happen. And the secondly, let's start sort of making pathway towards it. The engineering skills will be required. What other change will happen in terms of the workforce is that the number of people required on a facility or a host of facilities would change. I don't know how much would it change, by what percentage would it change, would certainly change. The skill sets needed right at the bottom of the spectrum, at the top of the spectrum, will change. Again, I don't know by how much, right? I guess the knowledge displacement is what we are looking at a very significant level. So that's the change that will happen. And again, at the cost of it being repetitive, the change that's not going to happen, what's going to remain constant, is we need people, we need great engineers. The process of operations and maintenance remains, that's constant for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. So we ourselves at Zempla are seeing this change as well, like how some of the workers potentially have been uh, are now tools or bots. For example, how ChatGPT and Gemini have changed our roles in content marketing. So a lot of ideas can be generated from these tools. You don't have to spend a lot of time, doing research. You get direct answers. So I think, yeah, a lot of
But
stuff is happening.
but thing is different. So, but I agree. So, what you're really saying is that your role, my role, everyone else's role, where we are trying to find ways in which we can augment using the tool, either make ourselves more productive or do more creative work, or whatever is the work. In engineering, it becomes slightly difficult because I mean the context is you are going to be all the questions and answers that you do with the bot would be with the domain with the context on that particular asset facility, so on and so forth, and hence need to be planned properly. But you're absolutely right. Eventually, you are going to end up, I think one of the biggest changes that will happen is the way people train. Capacity building happens. I think it will put on an outer loop. Like you are simply going to say, let's say if there's an hunting and a supply, a fan, you're going to say, okay, tell me the symptoms, how it happens, what are the usual behaviors, what should be done, and that assistance is there. You are transferring the domain knowledge back to be making it available. So there are different things that are going to happen. But again, it will all be tied down to that one business objective. There will be a couple of FM companies saying, and I think the work might be happening, saying that, all right, guys, the process of O&M has remained the same forever. Time to change, mark bits and pieces completely.
Let's leave our listeners with a nice bit of motivation and steps how to take action. And starting with uh, going out of denial, firstly accepting that change is happening. So yeah, I think it's overall, if you see, it's pretty much the same for everyone, but industry wise specifically there are certain differences.
Absolutely. And people who are in FM know FM much better than anyone else. So I mean, no one needs to come and tell them how FM should be done, and that's also an advantage and also a disadvantage. But hopefully, people will use it to their advantage.
Right. Thanks for your time, Umesh.
No, always a pleasure,
And with
Sid.
my questions, this was more like a discussion and not a question answer round. So yeah, glad the conversation is happening and not just firing questions at each other. So I
Yeah,
think
and
that
also a call out to all the listeners. Now, we may come back in 2 months and say something which is not radically opposite, but again, the rate of change is such that you're learning, and we're sharing as we're learning ourselves. So again, all I would say, if you're listening to this, have a fair bit of pessimism, have a fair bit of optimism, uh, but the golden thread or best part is to be asking this question at whatever you're doing, whatever your company is doing, ask this question: what's not going to change in 5 to 10 years? And then if that doesn't change, how is that work going to change? I know it sounds very easy, these two questions, but trust me, when you ask these questions really hard, you will get a lot of answers, and then probably that will help you in not being in the state of denial.
right.
Perfect.
So thanks for tuning in and keep listening for more such interesting topics on our podcast channel. And hopefully see you in the next one.
Thanks, Sid.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.